let me start from what landscape architecture was earlier in a sense. I mean, throughout history, has been a profession of the outdoors, and people have been going out and calling people out, and in a sense that it has had its own evolution. I mean, if you look at Vatsyayana talking about how gardens should be designed in the Kama Sutra, to Frederick Law Olmsted talking about the need for nature in the city, to probably capability Brown's large landscapes, or even if you look at French landscapes and the whole dominion over nature, and at some point it became garden design. So I think the profession has had its own evolution and growth. And what it was when I started practicing was probably in the 90s when the liberalization happened. People had money, and it kind of became more of a garden design, dealing more with aesthetics. And I think the ecological aspects were all intrinsically involved, or even maybe the cultural and psychological in a garden design. When people come out, there are benefits to it. But if you really have to look at how the profession has grown in today, I think we definitely have a stand in the ecological realm, in the urban design realm, in the urbanism factors where it's kind of evolved. So I think the profession has really grown bigger and wider and evolved into something much bigger than what it was.
Yes, specifically to do with landscape, it has changed quite a bit. When at least I started my profession, it was very limited in its role and its scope, mostly dealing with external spaces, limited to let's say an aesthetic that was not exactly contextual, at least in my opinion. But over the last 10 years, the focus has shifted substantially to deeper ecological and environmental concerns on the one side, as well as a social engagement which was not so apparent 2 or 3 decades ago. So you see more and more of engagement that happen, whether it is with the urban poor, whether it is with livelihood, it's creation of larger public spaces on the one hand, and maybe it is also shifted substantially towards resource management that includes, say, biodiversity, concerns for water, resilience and vulnerabilities. These are now becoming more and more important for the professional.
Yeah. So fundamentally, when I started the work in this profession in the year 1997, I came out. We were constantly being referred to, most cases, as landscapers, landscapists, in certain cases landscrapers. We've kind of heard of all these kind of connotation names. But then as time progressed, slowly we could hear less of this, and as of today I can say hardly any. So if you use this, a very simple tool, as a connotation or a measure to see how the profession has evolved, then obviously today's world, this profession is very well understood by the peers and the clientele. If you take also what I've heard from my mentors, fundamentally Oikos, Chengappa sir and Rohit Marol of Terra Firma, were my mentors in my early days. The kind of stories that they've told, the kind of hardships they faced. When we started around about 2000, my peers, when we started around about 2000, we found it fairly easy as compared to what they had at their time period. And for a professional who would start his firm today, or he's already started, I feel it would be far easier it would have been far easier for them to have started and then set foot firm on ground. So I think it has come a long way in the past 20 years that I've been in practice. Yeah.
The profession then, my practice started in 1985, and back then the profession itself was in its infancy, at least down in South India. So it took us some time to establish ourselves and the profession out here as the awareness of landscape of this profession amongst clients, people around, was very limited. So when we started off, the process ended up having to also educate people around you what landscape architecture is all about, and then to be able to tell these people that there are consultants to do this job. So it became a slow process. Because of that, it took us time to settle down, it took us time to put things together, it took us time to actually show people what we are capable of doing as such. So a lot of times we were seen as glorified Malis, and well, you had to take it with a pinch of salt and accept that I would say you just needed to accept what people knew about landscape architecture and let them be, and then show them through your work that yes, you know, we are professionals and we are able to do a lot more than what a Mali is supposed to do for them. So it for me, it was a learning process. Every day was a learning process. You started understanding how things work, how projects are handled, how to deal with clients, how to deal with executing agencies, and how to in the end be able to produce something that your clients are extremely happy with.